The text came through while I was in a classified briefing at the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Finally got rid of that eyesore in your garage. You're welcome. Sold it for $35,000. Used the deposit for my new BMW automobile. I stared at my phone, my blood running cold. My supervisor noticed my expression. Agent Harrison? Everything all right? I need to make a call, I said, standing abruptly. Family emergency. I stepped into the hallway and called my brother Derek immediately. Hey little brother, he answered cheerfully. Did you see my text? That piece of junk was taking up space in your garage for like 2 years. Derek, I said, my voice dangerously calm. What car did you sell? That old Mustang or whatever. The rusty one. Some collector paid $35,000 for it. I got $30,000 up front, and he's paying the rest when he picks it up next week. The 1969 Shelby GT 500? Yeah, that one. Anyway, I needed a new car for work and you weren't using it, so I figured. Derek, where is the car right now? Still in your garage. The buyer is coming Tuesday to get it. What? You're not mad, are you? Dude, I made you $35,000. I closed my eyes. Derek, I'm only going to ask this once. Did you sign any paperwork? Yeah, a bill of sale. But listen, I already spent the deposit. The BMW dealer needed $30,000 down. You'll get your share when the rest comes through. We can split it 50-50. You spent $30,000 that wasn't yours. It was just sitting there. You haven't touched that car in 2 years. You're always at work anyway. I did you a favor. What Derek didn't know was that I wasn't just at work. I was a federal agent with the Treasury Department, specializing in asset recovery and financial crimes. What Derek also didn't know was that the 1969 Shelby GT 500 in my garage wasn't mine. It was a historically significant vehicle seized from a criminal enterprise 3 years ago. The car had belonged to a notorious drug trafficker and was being held as a protected federal asset pending transfer to the National Museum of American History. I'd been temporarily storing it as part of my security clearance. The car was registered to the U.S. Treasury. Selling it wasn't just theft, it was selling federal property. A felony carrying 10 to 20 years in federal prison. Derek, I said quietly. Call that buyer right now and cancel the sale. What? No way. This is the best deal I've ever made. Why are you being like this? It's not just an old car. And it's not mine to sell. Which means it's definitely not yours to sell. You bought it, it's in your garage, it's your car. I'll give you half the money. Derek, I'm not joking. Cancel this sale immediately and return the deposit. I can't return it. I already spent it on my car. The BMW's already ordered. I pick it up Friday. Then cancel the BMW order. Are you insane? I've been waiting 6 months for this car. What's your problem? Where are you right now? At Mom and Dad's. Sunday dinner. They're asking why you never come anymore. Too busy with your mysterious government job. My family thought I worked a boring desk job doing paperwork for the government. They had no idea I carried a federal badge and weapon. They had no idea I'd spent 3 years building cases against international money laundering operations. I'll be there in 20 minutes, I said. Don't talk to the buyer. Don't sign anything else. Jesus, Marcus. Fine. But you're being ridiculous. I hung up and returned to the briefing room. My supervisor, Director Chin, looked up. Everything okay? My brother just sold a protected federal asset without authorization. Her eyebrows shot up. Which asset? The 69 Shelby from the court of a case. The one being transferred to the Smithsonian. The one worth $2.4 million? That would be the one. How much did he sell it for? $35,000. Director Chin actually laughed, though there was no humor in it. And he spent the deposit? On a BMW. You need to resolve this before the Smithsonian finds out, or this goes to the secretary's office. I know. I'm handling it. I made it to my parents' house in 18 minutes. Derek's old Honda Civic was in the driveway. I walked in without knocking. Sunday dinner was in full swing. Mom, Dad, Derek, and my sister Amanda were seated around the table. Marcus. Mom said, surprised. You came. We haven't seen you in months. I need to talk to Derek. Privately. Can't it wait until after dinner? Dad asked. No, it can't wait. Derek rolled his eyes and followed me into the garage. My garage, technically. I owned the house, though I let my parents think I was renting to avoid questions about how a government paper pusher could afford this neighborhood. The Shelby sat there exactly as I'd left it. Primer gray exterior. Original racing stripes barely visible under dust. To anyone who didn't know cars, it looked like an abandoned restoration project. To someone who knew, it was one of the most valuable muscle cars in existence. Okay, we're private, Derek said. Now explain why you're freaking out. I pulled out my federal credentials, badge and ID and held them up. Derek squinted. What's this? I'm a federal agent with the U.S. Treasury Department. Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. I've been with the agency for 8 years. He laughed. Yeah, right. You work in accounting. I work in asset recovery and criminal investigations. And this car is not mine. It's a seized asset belonging to the United States government. It's classified as historically significant and scheduled for transfer to the Smithsonian Institution. Derek's smile faltered. You're joking. I'm not joking. This car was seized from Roberto Cordova's criminal enterprise. It's worth approximately $2.4 million. It's registered to the U.S. Treasury. And you just sold it for $35,000. The color drained from his face. 2.4 million? Million. It's one of 12 ever made with this specific engine configuration. It was used in criminal operations, which increases its historical value. The Smithsonian has been waiting 3 years to add it to their collection. But it looks like shit. It's unrestored. That's part of its value. The museum wants it exactly as it was when we seized it. Derek sat down heavily. Marcus, you have to fix this. I didn't know. I know you didn't know. That's because you sold something without asking the owner. Which brings me to the next problem. What you did is a federal felony. What? You sold federal property without authorization. That's theft of government assets. 10 to 20 years in federal prison. I'm your brother. You can't let them arrest me. Derek, I don't have a choice. This car is part of an official case file. There are multiple agencies involved. Treasury, FBI, the Smithsonian Justice Department. The transfer is scheduled for next month. When that car doesn't show up, there will be an investigation. Can't you just not tell them? The car is inventoried. It's tracked. There are quarterly inspections. The next one is in 2 weeks. When the inspector finds out it's been sold, they'll launch a federal investigation regardless of what I do. Derek put his head in his hands. What do I do? First, call the buyer and cancel the sale. He's going to want his deposit back. Which brings us to problem 2. Where's the $30,000? I put it down on the BMW. The car's being built in Germany. I pick it up Friday. Cancel the order. Get the deposit back. Marcus, I can't. If I cancel now, I'll lose the deposit. The dealer made that clear. Then you'll lose the deposit. Derek, you're facing federal prison. The BMW is the least of your problems. My phone buzzed. A text from Director Chin. Smithsonian just called asking about transfer timeline. Need status ASAP. Perfect timing. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're calling that buyer right now and canceling the sale. You're returning his deposit. I don't have his deposit. Then you're calling the BMW dealer and canceling that order. Today. Right now. He pulled out his phone with shaking hands. I watched as he spoke to the buyer, explaining there had been a misunderstanding. The conversation got heated. The buyer threatened legal action. Derek promised to return the full deposit within 48 hours. When he hung up, he looked sick. He's pissed. He's talking about suing. Let him sue. Civil court is better than federal prison. Tao what? Now you call the BMW dealer. That call went worse. The dealer explained the deposit was non-refundable. The car was in production. If Derek backed out, he'd forfeit the entire $30,000. I'm screwed, Derek said. I don't have $30,000. The dealer won't refund my deposit. What do I do? The garage door opened. My mother walked in. Boys? Dinner's getting cold. What's going on? Mom, not now, Derek said. She looked at the car. This is about that old car Derek sold? Derek sold federal property, I said. This car belongs to the U.S. government. Derek committed a federal crime. Federal crime? You work in accounting. I showed her my credentials. I'm a federal agent, Mom. I have been for 8 years. This car is a seized asset worth $2.4 million. Derek sold it for $35,000 and spent the deposit. My mother stared at the badge. You're a federal agent? Yes. For 8 years. Yes. And Derek is in serious trouble. Mom, I need to borrow $30,000, Derek said desperately. Can you and Dad loan me the money? I need to pay back the buyer or I'll go to prison. Prison. Mom's voice went up an octave. I sold Marcus's car. How was I supposed to know it was government property? Because it wasn't yours to sell. I said. You went into my property, sold something that didn't belong to you and spent money you had no right to spend. My father appeared in the doorway. What's this about federal agents in prison? I explained the situation again. Dad's face went through several shades of pale as he realized what Derek had done. We'll loan you the money, Dad said finally. But Derek, you're paying us back. Every penny. I don't have $30,000, Derek protested. Then you'll get a second job. Sell your possessions. You created this mess. Over the next 48 hours my family scrambled. Dad took out a home equity loan. Derek canceled his BMW order and lost the deposit. The car buyer got his $30,000 back and agreed not to sue. I filed my report with Director Chin, explaining there had been unauthorized access to the secured vehicle but the situation had been immediately corrected. The car never left the garage. Director Chin called me in 3 days later. The Smithsonian is moving up the transfer. The car gets picked up next week instead of next month. Understood. As for your brother, technically he committed a federal crime. But given that you corrected it immediately and no actual damage was done, we're not pursuing charges. I exhaled. Thank you. Don't thank me. Your brother got incredibly lucky. And Marcus? Get a better lock for your garage. That Sunday I went to family dinner for the first time in months. Derek was there looking subdued. He'd taken a weekend security guard job to pay back our parents. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For everything. For selling your car. For never asking about your actual job. For treating you like you were unsuccessful. Apology noted, I said. Are we okay? I thought about the years of condescension. The dismissive comments about my boring desk job. We're getting there, I said finally. My mother hugged me. We should have asked more about your work. We should have been interested. You should have, I agreed. Are you really a federal agent? Amanda asked. Like with a gun? Yes. That's actually cool. Derek cleared his throat. I looked up that car. Read about the court of a case. About what you do. Marcus, you've taken down some seriously bad people. That's the job. I've been selling insurance and acting like I'm successful. You've been literally fighting crime. Different careers, Derek. Both valid. Except I nearly went to prison because I was too arrogant to ask before taking something that wasn't mine. Yeah. That part wasn't great. The Shelby was transferred to the Smithsonian the following week. I attended the installation ceremony. The museum created a display explaining both the car's automotive significance and its criminal history. There was a small plaque, on loan from the U.S. Treasury Department. Special thanks to Special Agent Marcus Harrison for preservation and security. My parents drove down to see it. They stood in front of the display for a long time. We didn't know, Mom said quietly. We really didn't know what you did. I know. We're proud of you, Dad said. We should have said that years ago. Derek sent a photo of himself in front of the display. The text read, Almost sold this for $35,000. I'm an idiot. You're a badass. Sorry it took me so long to figure that out. I saved the message. Some lessons required almost going to federal prison to learn. But at least Derek had finally learned his. That Sunday I went to family dinner for the first time in months. Derek was there looking subdued. He'd taken a weekend security guard job to pay back our parents. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For everything. For selling your car. For never asking about your actual job. For treating you like you were unsuccessful. Apology noted, I said. Are we okay? I thought about the years of condescension. The dismissive comments about my boring desk job. We're getting there, I said finally. My mother hugged me. We should have asked more about your work. We should have been interested. You should have, I agreed. Are you really a federal agent? Amanda asked. Like with a gun? Yes. That's actually cool. Derek cleared his throat. I looked up that car. Read about the Cordova case. About what you do. Marcus, you've taken down some seriously bad people. That's the job. I've been selling insurance and acting like I'm successful. You've been literally fighting crime. Different careers, Derek. Both valid. Except I nearly went to prison because I was too arrogant to ask before taking something that wasn't mine. Yeah. That part wasn't great. The Shelby was transferred to the Smithsonian the following week. I attended the installation ceremony. The museum created a display explaining both the car's automotive significance and its criminal history. There was a small plaque, on loan from the U.S. Treasury Department. Special thanks to Special Agent Marcus Harrison for preservation and security. My parents drove down to see it. They stood in front of the display for a long time, reading about the Cordova case, about the car's significance, about my role in the seizure and preservation. We didn't know, Mom said quietly. We really didn't know what you did. I know. We're proud of you, Dad said. We should have said that years ago. You should have, I agreed. But you were too busy being proud of Derek's insurance sales to ask what your other son did for a living. Dad flinched at that, but he didn't argue. He couldn't. Derek sent a photo of himself in front of the display later that week. The text read, "Almost sold this for $35,000. I'm an idiot. You're a badass. Sorry it took me so long to figure that out." I saved the message. A month later, Derek finished paying back our parents. He kept the second job anyway, saying he needed to rebuild his savings after the stupidest mistake of my life. At the next family dinner, he asked me about my work. Actually asked specific questions about what I did, what cases I worked on, what my day-to-day looked like. It was the first real conversation we'd had in years. "Why didn't you tell us you were a federal agent?" he asked. "Why let us think you were just some low-level government worker?" "I tried to tell you," I said. "Multiple times. But every time I mentioned my work, you'd dismiss it or change the subject. You weren't interested in what I did. You were interested in feeling superior about what you did." He was quiet for a long moment. "You're right. I was an ass." "Yes, you were. Am I still?" I considered. "You're getting better." Some lessons required almost going to federal prison to learn. But at least Derek had finally learned his. And maybe, eventually, my family would learn to ask before assuming they knew everything about someone's life. The Shelby remained at the Smithsonian, a testament to both criminal history and law enforcement success. And I remained a federal agent, whether my family understood it or not.